to spare. I did it. All right. Hi, Sarah. All right. Oh my gosh. I don't need to start yawning. Hi, Letty. Doing great. Hi, April. April, thank you so much for letting me know about the AAPC article because I had no idea. As you all know, I'm with the American Health Information Management Association. That is who I'm certified through. I have the CCSP, the Certified Coding Specialist Physician Based, and I have the Gold Standard of Medical Coding Credentials, the CCS. That is the Certified Coding Specialist. So I don't get the AAPC monthly magazine. So to hear that I made mention in there, that's pretty awesome. Hi Nadia, good evening. So, but thank you for letting me know, April. I appreciate it. Alrighty. So we'll wait a couple of minutes. So this live will work like much of my other lives. So if y'all have any questions that are not basic, feel free to ask away. I don't really have a subject for tonight other than just to catch up with you all, see how y'all are doing. Yes, I was excited to read it too. That was pretty cool. It's nice. It's nice. So that makes the AHIMA journal that I've made already, because when I spoke last year for last year's convention in Salt Lake, I was featured in the magazine, and then Forbes, and now the AAPC journal. So the AAPC monthly magazine. And then there was the other one. There was another website that I was on as well. And the last few, the three of them, let's see. That one. Yeah, the last three have been in the last couple months. So that's pretty cool. I like that. That's pretty awesome. It's nice that the channel, as the channel gets bigger and bigger, that, it gets shared more and more. And that's really awesome because the channel is here to help. The channel has a lot of straightforward advice. I am very blunt. Some people don't like that. There's a lot of people that don't like that, but that's okay. I'm not here for y'all to like me. I'm here to tell you the truth, and I'm here to hopefully give you guys some like pointers, because I've been seeing like LinkedIn is terrible now for like people complaining about not being able to get in and being brand new. And I had somebody who messaged me today as well and was saying, how am I supposed to get in? Everybody wants, 3 or 5 years experience, and I put out all these resumes and I haven't heard back anything. And I said, well, do you watch my channel? And they said, yes, but everybody wants 5 years of experience. I said, I know you have not watched my channel, because I talk about this all the time, is that even though they're asking for experience, you're still supposed to apply anyway. So no one who watches the channel would ever say that to me. No one. So that's how I know. But they went back and watched, and they were able to start applying at some of the places that I have mentioned before, which is get yourself registered with a temp agency, especially when you're brand new, that specializes in medical professions. So I've always said to Google in your local area temporary agencies for medical professionals, and that will help you get into some of these assignments, because after a while it's not about that you have all this time of experience, but there's something on your resume, there's something that's showing there, because sometimes employers, they just want somebody else to start out with you before they get to you. And unfortunately, yes, they're going to say that they want 3 to 5 years experience. They will always say they want 3 to 5 years of experience, but you still have to apply anyway. It's the people that are not applying, that are, wanting to work at home right away and do all of this stuff, and they want their way right away. They want the high salary right away. You have to earn it. It's not easy. This career field is definitely not easy, and it upsets me when I see people sell it based on salary. I saw that today too. Oh, somebody, oh, you can make really high, you can make all these figures in medical coding. You're talking to people who are looking for that, but you're not also telling them about all the education they have to have, about how the fact that they need to spend time in working in the hospital, in the clinic, rather than trying to set everybody up at home. Because working at home when you're brand new, you're going to miss out on that development as a coder, because you're not going to be around other coders. You're only going to be around yourself. And the hiring manager is not going to have time to sit there and work with you, because book coding and real world coding are two different things. And while the book is really good at getting you started, once you get in boots on the ground is when you're going to start seeing the difference in the coding, because every provider has a lot of different ways that they document what they're doing, and you have to learn that. And there's going to be some words that mean the same thing. There's going to be some things that can be interpreted a little weird, but you have to learn to talk to them. And that's the only way you're going to be able to do that, is by working in the office first. And some people are like, oh, no, I want to work remotely. Y'all think it's the best thing in the world. I have worked remotely twice. And while it is convenient, it is nice, I also had experience both times working remotely before I was even able to work remotely at all. I had experience. So that helped me. But it's not easy, because when I worked remotely the first time, I had already a few years of experience. I was like 6 years of experience already. And when I started doing that, I was working for a level 1 trauma hospital. Level 1 trauma, if you don't know, that is everything. You get all the gnarly accidents. So these were not easy records to code. And these were coding for surgeries. These were coding for certain clinic visits and things like that. But mostly it was a lot of surgeries. And so because I worked in the evening, everybody who worked during the day picked over all of the easy stuff, which was all colonoscopies and appendectomies and all this other easier procedures. And then all of a sudden, here I am with complex surgery after complex surgery after complex surgery, with multiple injuries, multiple things going on with these patients. And I had to learn that way. A lesser coder would have been scared off and would have been like, I'm not doing this. But because I stuck with it and I was willing to rise to the challenge, it didn't bother me. You have to be the same way too, is that you may not be comfortable on the outset, having to go into the office. But after a while, when you do get that experience, then you go home, you've set yourself up for, okay, I can handle this. Because me having 6 years in, before I went and worked at home remotely, I might have been scared off, because just experiencing all of these complex, crazy procedures that I got to do with all these injuries. How am I going to learn this? And I had nobody to run back and forth to, because remember, I'm in the evening. So there was a supervisor that was on, but she wasn't my supervisor, and she would live clear up in Alaska. And a lot of times she would ask me for advice about what I would do in a situation about coding. And that's totally fine. I'm down to help anybody. Whoever comes to me and asks me a question, I'm down to help them. But like I said, it just all depends on the person. And you build up that skill, you build up that resilience by starting off in a place where you have to go. Okay. So at least that's just my advice anyway. Um, there's a lot of people that want things their way, and that makes it very difficult. And then you get people out there that start talking about the money. You start reeling in the wrong people into this industry. This industry still has to grow into perpetuity, because listen to this. Yes, there's AI, but AI will never take our place. Why? Because AI cannot critically think. It's zeros and ones. It cannot critically think. So if you think that, oh, well, it's going to be so easy because of AI, and I heard that the systems are already selecting the codes, they're wrong. 90 to 95% of the time, they are wrong, because it's always looking for something. Again, ones and zeros. Ones and zeros. So with that said, I'm just trying to set you guys up for success when it comes to starting out in coding. It's not about how much complaining can I do, because even when you complain on LinkedIn, you say, well, why is it so hard? That's complaining. That's complaining. And somebody's going to comment on that, and they're going to see, and it's going to start a whole chain reaction of commiseration, and all of a sudden everybody's complaining. I don't deal with that. I block the people because I don't want to see it. I don't. And you're clearly not listening. Especially what gets me is that when people friend me on LinkedIn, right? And you see that I am a YouTube content creator, unless you're just blindly, friending people, you see that I'm a YouTube content creator for medical coding. Why don't you go to the channel and check out those videos instead of just blindly complaining and posting all your complaints on LinkedIn? Got to be positive, folks. Hi, Michelle. Desi says, I utilize your advice as a new coder. Awesome. Hi, Mika. Hi, Mina, with your retracted message. So, but yes. So that's what you got to think of when you're out there. Yes, I know it's frustrating because I went through it. I went through the multiple denials when I very first started, and being told, no, you don't have any experience. I know I don't have any experience, but give me a test and I'll show you what I know. And it wasn't until I went back to the school to ask the principal, because my mom's like, go back to the school, ask them if they know somebody that hires. And so I went back over there and I talked to the principal, and he put me in contact with his friend who had a temp agency, and that temp agency had a job, and it was within a week. I went over there, put in my application, and I put in I did the assessment test, and they said, whoa, you did really good on the assessment test. They go, well, give us a week and we'll find you something. And I had been hearing that so much, I was just like, this is just one more thing I'm just doing. I'm like, whatever at this point, So I heard from them in a week, and they said, we have this 3-month assignment. There's gonna be you and 2 others if you decide to take this assignment. It's gonna be you and 2 others. You're gonna do coding for oncology, and at the end of the 3 months, which is the end of this contract, they're gonna pick one of you to stay on permanently. And I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, we'll work on finding you something else. If it doesn't work out, or if you don't like it, we can try to find something else for you. So I said, okay. So I'm just going to go with it. So for the next 90 days, I worked at the Cancer Therapy Research Center, and I learned a lot. You want to talk about a crash course in learning. We were shoved into the deep end of the pool. We did everything. We did evaluation and management. We did minor procedures that were done in the clinic. Of course, the diagnosis coding. We did it all with our coding manuals. We did not have an encoder. There was no computers. We worked at long tables, right? And we had our books all set out and everything, and we had to code. We had accuracy and productivity standards to hit. And so, at the end, I didn't get picked, and it wasn't on technical ability, because they did have to rate us. They said she's very technically competent, but it was just a supervisor's choice, and that's fine, because after that, I was offered another opportunity that I had to move. Don't tell me that you can't move. I don't want to hear it. I always get told I can't move. I'm not telling you to move. I'm telling you my story. So I moved. My mother set me up in an apartment. She helped me move and everything. And I was out there for 8 months. And then I made it here to my forever home. All the while, like, okay, I'm just going with it. You know, I had moved hours away from my hometown. I had nobody in the city that I moved to. Nobody. I had no friends, and the closest person to me was hours away. Hours away. You want to talk about being alone? Being there, no support system in sight. And then I have to learn this. I'm still learning this new industry, and I'm still trying to find my way and figure it all out. And I did. You know, it wasn't the easiest. There was times that I wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home. I wanted the whole thing to be over with. But then I stuck it out because that's how my mom raised me. She raised me to be resilient, and that's what I have, you know. So then the job ad for my forever home came up. And I was so excited because I was trying to go back to my hometown. I wanted to go back to my hometown. And they didn't have anything where I wanted to work. Okay, they did have some at like the university hospital, but I didn't like what they had to offer over there. I didn't think that it was fair. Okay, because I knew better, you know. And so I didn't want to apply there where I wanted to work. They didn't have anything, but my forever home was as close as I could get, and it had a lot to offer, which was more than what I was making with the temp agency. The temp agency pay was really good, but this pay was also really good, and so it was just like nice. I had a jump and then another jump, so it was like okay, good. So I came here, and I had less than 1 year of experience when I applied here. And they told me that on the phone too. They were like, well, you know, you're just starting out, you know, but we like that you have professional fee experience. And so I went through the whole interview process. It was on the phone. We didn't have Zoom back then, you know. I talk about it like it's so far back in the day, you know, it was in 2009. So um, I did the whole interview on the phone. I used my books. It was ICD-9 at the time. And so I used my books, and I was able to talk to them and connect with them on the phone because I don't mind talking on the phone. And we got disconnected in part of the interview, and I panicked because I was like, oh my God, they're going to think I hung up on them. And they called me right back. But, you know, signal out there was really bad too. So, but I got the job. I got the job. After that interview, though, I didn't get the job. But I say I got the job because once I completed the interview and they said, well, you know, if we selected you, because we need to discuss this, but if we select you, how soon could you start? And I said, well, 2 weeks to the day I get the call, you know, and they're all laughing because they know how excited I am because I'm letting it show. I'm not going to sit here and try to be coy with you. I want this job, you know. So I didn't say that, but that was my actions on the phone. And so they said, okay, well, we'll let you know. Well, I didn't hear anything. And of course, I'm devastated because I'm thinking, I'm almost home free. I almost get to go back home because I could be closer to my hometown. I wanted to go back home to my mom because my mom was sick at the time and I wanted to be with her. She made me go. She made me go. She was like, because I said I didn't want to move. And she said, no, you're going. And when you get experience and you can come back here. And this was the closest that I could get. And she was totally happy with that, you know. And so here again, when I didn't get the job, of course, devastated. But then a few weeks later, the job opened again, but this time for a higher position. So I was like, okay, this is a better position, you know. And so I applied again. The job closed. My resume went to the hiring managers and they did their selection process and I got the offer. So, and then of course I accepted gleefully. And I made the move here and I've been here ever since. So, I mean, it's nice to have this longevity, but there's also things that happened getting here and being here, especially within the first 2 years, that made it very difficult for me because like now at this time when I get here, I'm trying to settle in and learn these new people. And these new people, there's these two ladies that don't want me to be in their clinic because they like their clinic by themselves. And how dare you, outsider? So I had to deal with that. And then my mom passed away. And that was very difficult. You want to talk about losing everything? That was me. So I had to go through that by myself. I was going through all of these things on my own. Had I been working at home, I wouldn't have been able to focus on anything, obviously. But knowing that I had to get up and go to work and do all of these things, that is literally what kept me going. Because it's just like you make a choice at that point. But that's what I did. And then I had a terrible, terrible supervisor at the time too. Because the original supervisor I had when I came here was wonderful, but she left. And then I had a supervisor who we did not get along. And that was hard. When you talk about having a supervisor where you have to go and report to this person and you two don't get along, and this was out of nowhere, oh, that made it very difficult. But then, again, a couple of years into this, I got put with a new supervisor and everything was fine after that. So it's a personal choice. Everything that you go through is a personal choice. All these things that you go through, all this whining and complaining that I hear about on LinkedIn, about how, oh, no one wants to give them a chance. You have to be like really adamant, and you cannot give up. And somebody was talking about that they notice that the people that make it are the people that don't give up. That they're not the people that are out there counting all the resumes that they're sending out and then announcing it to everybody just to say, oh, I can't make it and nobody wants to hire me. I talked a couple days ago about some advice for new people when they're out there applying, because sometimes you're not looking at yourself and what you're sending out. So what you send out is immediately what these employers are seeing. So if you're sending out a terrible resume, or you're sending out a blanket resume that you're just sending it out to everybody, and it doesn't have the detail on it that it needs to have in order to get their attention in the first place, that's part of the problem. And I have tons of resume tip videos. You can even Google. You can go into Google. You don't even have to go into YouTube. You can go into Google and you type in medical coding with Bleu resume tips and you'll see them. You'll see them. April says, I was curious, when you did the assessment test for the temp agency, did you have to take another assessment on the job? No. The temp agency was the one that made the decision if I was competent or not. And then they basically handed me over to the Cancer Therapy Research Center where I was working. So they already did all the background check on me and everything. And so there was no need for them to redo it again. Now, the second job that I did have, I had to go through a background check for them. I had to go get my driving record, but it was their background check, so I had to go do all that other stuff, So yeah, it really all depends. But that was the only time I had to do the assessment test, because I didn't do it for the second job either, because it was considered part of being at the temp agency, because the temp agency was the first two jobs. And then when I came here, on the phone, I did the assessment test. So they quizzed me. They told me I could use my books, but they were looking to see how fast I answered too, and how comprehensively I answered the question as well. So thank you, Letty. Do you have any suggestions for the CCS instructor-led? Any suggestions for the CCS instructor-led program? CCS has an instructor-led program? That's news to me. It's news to me. Any kind of instructor-led program. The thing that you have to consider if you are considering getting into a program that is instructor-led, the instructor is going to most likely be one person with who knows how many people, 30 people, 60 people, 120 people. I've heard of the classes being that big, right? I don't know how big the classes are, right? So you have one instructor for all of these people. One instructor for 30 is bad as it is, but then you do 120 and you are one voice in a sea of voices. So there's no really, one-on-one. Some instructors are really good. Others have no business being an instructor. I will say that, because if you don't understand things, if you don't understand anatomy, medical terminology and all those things, you mispronounce words like basic medical terms, like integumentary is integumentary. It is not integumentary. But I've seen that several times. And to me, it's just like, how can you have anybody say, like, you're the instructor, really, when you're really mispronouncing the word? So, I mean, it all depends. And sometimes instructors are not certified, they just have a degree, especially the ones that teach at the school. If it's like at the college, the local college, sometimes they're not even certified at all. Sometimes they don't even have their credential in HIM or HIT. They just have a degree in something else. They're just basically proctoring from a book. So it is your responsibility to make sure that when you are like trying to sign up for a school that has an instructor, you talk to the instructor and get a feel for how they respond to like questions, because an instructor has to be patient enough to answer questions, and they have to explain things in a way that's understandable for people. And if not, they need to look at that person and adjust their approach so that way, they can make sure that all of their students understand. And some people are just not into that. So again, it really all depends. I can't say yay or nay. I can't say if it's good or not. I don't even know who the instructor is. Okay. But that's your job. Your job is to ask them questions. When was the last time they worked in the real world? Are they certified? What credential do they have? And it has to be a HEMA or AAPC. It can't be one of these other off the wall places, because a HEMA, the American Health Information Management Association, and AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders, have an industry standard, right? And they have already, people know their names are recognized, and their tests and exams are respected, especially one of the four main ones, the CCS, the CCA, the CCSP, all with a HEMA, or the CPC with AAPC. People know these. You go and you try to get some off-brand one that I didn't say, you're going to have a harder time finding a job, because they're not going to recognize it as a coding credential like they would any of these four. Okay. Hopefully does that help? Okay. So no more complaining, guys, please. On LinkedIn, and no more sad faces, like the sad crying emojis with the big eyes. I seen that one too. Somebody had commented that they've been sending out their resume, and why aren't there any jobs for new coders? I said, there are jobs. You got to stop with the crying face. They didn't say anything, but it's true. The energy that you're putting out, like I talked about the other day, the energy that you put out is exactly what you're getting back in. And if it is that you're showing frustration with the industry is going to show your frustration right back. That's just the way that it is. So make sure that you remain positive. I have seen people on LinkedIn who have shared their journey of looking for a job, and they have remained positive, and they were able to share their journeys. And then when they finally got a job, some of them, it was 4 months, some it was 6 months, some it was 8 months. But they finally did it because they were persistent and they kept after it. And it can't be just because you get a few rejections that it's the end of the world, because it's not. This is all the shaping process. If this was so easily handed to everybody, everybody would do it. But it's not, unfortunately. The industry is just made up of a lot of professionals that have been around for a long time. Some of these professionals have not had anybody to mentor them or coach them when they first started. So that's the mentality they adopt for new people. And then others know that no one was there for them, so they're going to be there for others. But at the same time, this incoming class of people who are in all ages and stages of life, whether from just out of high school or they've just retired and they want to do a second or even a third career, they get into this and now they're lost. But instead of digging deep, some, not all, but some will want to be spoon-fed. They will want to be spoon-fed. I had a viewer who wrote to me who told me it was my fault that they were unprepared for their CCSP. My fault. I have never seen you comment on my channel. You're not even on my Patreon channel. I've never done a session with you, like a tutoring session or anything. How can it be my fault? And I said to this person, I said, if you are not ready, that is your fault. I have nothing to do with that. I tell you all, I give you the blueprint, which is 20 hours per week. And then I get complaints. But I say it anyway, 20 hours per week. And yes, it is possible, even with a full-time job and 40-hour week and, all that good stuff. It is possible to put in 20 hours. 3.5 hours per day in 5 days is 17.5 hours. If you have time for TikTok, you have time for this. Okay? 30 minutes at a time or 1 hour at a time. Everybody has time for that. Everybody. There's pockets of time that you can put in. And you don't necessarily have to be actually writing something or working in a workbook in order for it to be considered study time. You could be listening to something. So when you're getting ready for work, 30 minutes in the morning, you could be listening to Crash Course, Anatomy and Physiology. That will help you to learn anatomy and physiology. Then on your lunch break, you could be working with flashcards. You work with a deck of 25 at a time. You write them out. If you don't want to write them out, go on Quizlet and review their medical terminology or anatomy flashcards for 30 minutes while you're on your lunch break. You can eat and look at that at the same time or watch another video on Crash Course. On your drive home, another 30 minutes. You could be listening to something, Crash Course again if you want to. That's already an hour and a half that you've done. An hour and a half. And then you come home, you make the kids their dinner, say hi to your husband or your wife or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and then you study for 1 hour. You take a break because you don't study for longer than an hour because it won't sink in after a while. And then you come back to it for another hour. The kids are already in bed. You have time to sit there and work with your workbook. Stick a pin in anything that doesn't make sense. You can come back to it the next day or in a couple of days. And you do this consistently, 20 hours in a week, 80 hours in a month, you'll be cooking with grease. But again, the people that are coming into this need to give something back, which is their time into learning and not complaining about how hard it is. It's going to be hard. It is not easy. Oh, believe me, it is not. We have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. We have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school. And I don't say it to scare you. I want you to be prepared. But working with your workbooks, working with your coding manuals, that's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to make you stronger. If you get stuck, you don't know something, you don't understand, there's mentors that will help you for free on LinkedIn. Or you can ask for a tutor recommendations, okay? Tutors you got to pay for, mentors are for free. I do not mentor, just so everybody knows. I have zero time for mentors, to be a mentor, because I already do all these videos. I put out videos 4 nights a week. 4 nights a week. I've done almost everything on this channel. Y'all don't really watch when I talk about coding. I don't know. I don't know why y'all don't watch. But I have done them in the past. You can look through my videos. I've done countless playlists about modifiers and talking about injuries and things like that, because I'm an orthopedic coder and I love injuries. So that's what y'all can do. I give y'all resources that y'all can use for free. And then I'll get people complaining, oh, with the just coding, they were so easy. Well, did you cover up the answers? So that way you can look up the code on your own? Because Just Coding has a free subscription and a paid subscription. The free subscription, they give you 5-question coding quizzes that go back forever, and they cover ICD-10-CM, CPT, and ICD-10 PCS. and you look up these 5-question coding quizzes, right? You look up these, questions, and then, you can look and see if your answer matches any of the multiple choice, and then you mark it, and then it'll tell you if you got it right or not. It won't give you the right answer, but it'll tell you if you got it right or not. And that's how you get more practice. I've demonstrated in the books, and if you have the Optum ICD-10-CM expert for physicians, now there is an expert for hospitals or the hospital virgin, and but I don't use that book. I use the expert for physicians, and I like this one. But in this book, there's tons of things that you can do before every single chapter. And I know it's backwards, but I just want y'all to see this. Before every single chapter in the tabular section, they have the coding guidelines for this specific chapter. Now, yes, I did put these tabs on it because this is part of a show that I want to do. I just haven't had time to do it. But in this little purple box here, these are the guidelines, right? And then it gives you an example in this purple box. So what I do is I cover up the answer and I look up the question. And then what I do is I verify to make sure I got the right answer. And then I look at the rationale. So the answer and the rationale are right here. But you can do this throughout the whole book because there's like a couple pages of this. Okay? And then it gets into the chapter. But if you do this, and then for the next chapter, you do it again because there's those scenario things again. Because they're just examples of the guidelines in action, right? And you look up all of these things. You do this for the entire book, you will have worked through all the chapters of this book, literally from the book. So guess what happens? Not only do you get wonderful practice, because these are great questions, but it gives you the answer and the rationale. It gives you the reason why. You will have gone through the whole thing. So you're telling me that you wouldn't be strong, you wouldn't be more confident because you went through the whole book? Literally through the whole book, all the chapters, all 22 of them. Now, all of them don't have questions, but the vast majority of them do. Okay, there's maybe 2 or 3 that don't have questions, only because it's either a part of another chapter or like there's really not a whole lot going on, like in chapter 22. But that's what you do to get yourself comfortable with this book, is you actually sit and practice with it. Are you going to get all the questions right the very first time you do it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you practice. That's why you practice. And when you get into taking the test, it's going to make it a lot easier. Why? Because you're so familiar with the book. I will always push the book. I am not one of these shortcut people. Heck no. You are going to learn that book. That's the way that I look at it, because in order for coders to be strong, they need to be good with the book. And yes, there's encoders out there. There's all this fancy software, but nothing beats the book. Nothing. Yeah, April. True. Hi, Blue. Just curious, did you have a different job before medical coding, or was it your first? So sweet of you to think that was my first job. Actually, my first job, I delivered phone books. We traveled a lot delivering phone books. Of course, phone books are outdated now, But back in the day, you could be chased after for a Southwestern Bell phone book. And these were not little. These are huge. My mom and I delivered phone books. And she had done it for many years, and then I joined her. And we went everywhere. Dallas, Houston. We, of course, did San Antonio. We went to Oklahoma, Arkansas. Arkansas was very interesting because people thought that I didn't speak English, which of course I do, And so, and of course, I'm born here, but they didn't know that, And so Arkansas was a lot of fun. Missouri, Michigan, we went everywhere. My mom went to Pennsylvania, but I didn't. I stayed in San Antonio. So I did that and then got married. and I stopped working for a little while. And then I did some just like odd and end work, you know, and then I got into school. But before I got into school, because of course I was laid off from my job, so um, once I started school, I started to go back to work again because I needed money. And so I worked at like the concession stand. I did like a lot of like concession stand work. I did that. I cleaned houses and I worked at a halfway house. I was a bartender. So I worked literally 7 days a week while I was in school and trying to just keep my head above water and pay my bills. And, you know, I was going through a divorce, so it was a very difficult time for me. You know, it's not fun when you can't make your car payment and you're struggling, you know. And so I went through that, and but I made it. I made it. They were very understanding because they knew I was in school. And so sometimes I was a little late, you know, but I made it, you know. And so, yeah. And then after that, I continued to clean houses and work at the bar and the concession stand. I did that for the 2 months I was looking for a job, and I was just like, I'm so tired. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm so tired. And she's like, go back to the school and ask them if they know somebody, you know, that knows somebody that can get you in. Because everybody was telling me no. And then they were saying, well, you know, get experience and come back to us. And I'm like, how? When everybody says no. And then they go, we know it's just a thing in the industry. And I'm like, but y'all can fix that. You know, like y'all actually have the power to fix that, you know? Whatever. So I went to the temp agency, and that's how I was able to get in. So, and then after that, I've been with this ever since. I've been a coder for 17 years. And I've been here at my forever home for coding for 16 of those 17 years. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's my eclectic journey of working. But I've always worked. I've always been a worker. I just, you know, it's when you don't have any direction, which aside from the phone books, you know, phone books was so much fun. And, but, you know, it's blue collar work. And it wasn't meant to last forever either, because we knew that. We knew because cell phones and everything, pagers were out, and then, of course, cell phones. But we knew it wasn't going to last forever. We just had fun with it. And we did. You know, and then, of course, life happens, and now I'm here, divorced. But I'm here, you know, and I'm okay with that, you know. And I love what I do. You know? That's why I make the channel, to encourage you all. It's also a continuation of my mother's legacy, because I know that when I was in school, I was so lucky that I had my mom to help me out and back me up and help me with like flashcards and things. And we would do drills together and stuff, and just so that I could learn. But then a lot of people at the school didn't have that. They would sit there and they would say, well, you know, my mom says I'm too dumb. And I said, your mom said what? She's like, yeah. She's like, this girl I talked to, she's like, yeah, my mom said I'm too dumb, that I can't do this. She's like, I just don't know, Blue. I don't know if I can do this. And I'm like, you can. And I'm like, why would you think just because your mom said? She's like, well, yeah, because, you know, she's my mom. She knows me. Well, why would she discourage you? Like, it was like foreign to me. I'm like, girl, you better finish this program. And she's like, you're lucky, you know. She's like, because she would see my mom come pick me up and things, and she's like, you're lucky that, you know, you have a mom to help you. And I'm like, I know, you know, and I want to make her proud, you know what I mean? Like, I want to get this too, you know. And so she finished the program. So we were there to like, okay, you know, you gotta go for it. But other people would say like their husband didn't believe in them, their boyfriend didn't believe in them. And I'm like, that's not uncommon. You know, the one that was with the mom, that one kind of bothered me, because I was just like, I know my mom would never do that to me, you know, let alone somebody else's mother doing that to them. And so I was walking the track in 2000, was it? What year was it? 2018. I was walking the track with a friend. And I had given a class that day. And she goes, you know, Blue, you're really good at teaching. I said, you know, yeah, I love it. It's something I enjoy, you know. And so she said, you should do that. And I said, you know what? I should do that on YouTube. I was like, oh, I could do that on YouTube. And I started getting excited. And I was just like, oh, you know, I could like show them how to do this, you know, things like that. And she's like, yeah, that would be a great idea, you know. And then I started to like do the channel. Like I think I spent the first day, like the whole day I was trying to like figure out what to say. I didn't know what to say, and it was terrible. I didn't have a tripod or anything. I had my phone propped up like on a book or something like that. And so yeah. And I was just trying to like figure out like what to say and not say so many times. But I did that. And then now it's evolved to this. I still don't edit my videos, as you can see, but whatever. It still works. 46,000 organic subscribers later, it still works. So, but yeah. I don't even have TikTok. Yes, I don't like TikTok. That's not for me. Hi, Alexandria. Melinda says, hi, Blue. What would you say about an employer who's looking for someone that can multitask? Thank you, Scooter. You're a very strong person, Blue. Thank you. Multitask. Sounds like they want you to do more than one hat to me. Now, there's a line. I'm all about multitasking, and I'm okay with this, okay? If you ask me to do something within the scope of my work, which is as a coder, in the scope of my work as I see it, it means querying my providers. It means educating them, providing them with education, counseling, anything that helps them. That's within my scope, okay? Helping out my fellow coworkers who are coders. That's within my scope, right? What is not within my scope and not what I would consider multitasking: checking in patients, calling patients, rooming patients, cleaning the rooms of the patients. Because I hear people talk about that too. Oh, no. No. I am a coder. We do coding. We do not do patient care, period. I don't care if somebody's out. You need to hire another MA then, or you need to hire a CNA. You're not going to get me. But if you're asking me to do something with billing, again, billers and coders are different. But if you're the only person who does that, like the only coder, but you also do the reimbursement side, that's within your scope. That's multitasking. Okay. So yes and no, but Melinda, it depends on what is it? Because there's a line and you've got to be willing to say it. Nope. Because sometimes they'll try to squeeze as much productivity and work out of you as they possibly can, because they feel they're already paying you enough as the coder. They're going to try to get all this other work out of you that they can. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They pay you to be a coder. That's what you're doing. You don't call patients for like their appointments. You know, you might call them for a bill if reimbursement is part of your deal. But if it's not, that's not multitasking. Mm-mm. Thanks. I think I have misunderstood the meaning of multitasking. Or did I misunderstand you, Melinda? Did I misunderstand what you're asking me? I hope I didn't. Because that's what I thought. Okay, and while we're here, because I got about 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes, because I have another appointment in 40 minutes, that I want to take a break before. But little housekeeping. So the independent study, a lot of people are looking for it now. You know, I've had the independent study up for many years. It was the original independent study, because before I did it, there was no other. Not on YouTube for medical coding, okay? Now, I had it in the description box of all the videos, except for on the lives, because lives is really quick and it's not, you know, I don't have it on the live description box. But I did several videos about the independent study. So my whole thing is that people can learn medical coding on their own. and I tell them these are the books you need, and here is the syllabus. This is the breakdown of how long it's going to take you. And then I would have people writing me complaining, saying that they didn't think they could make it through in 9 months, that, you know, they wanted to do it in a shorter time. I said, you know, you can do it as fast or as slow as you want to. This is just a syllabus to kind of help give you a guideline so that you don't have to go to a school, because this literally the same thing that you're going to learn in the school, you can learn on your own by getting the books that I had already laid out, that I'm giving you all for free, like the syllabus. You know, all you have to do is go collect the books and go put in the time to study. So then, you know, sometimes when you try to be nice to people, they take advantage and they get to be mean about it. Now, okay, but they started to get mean. And for the last 2 months, this has been like, I've just been getting pelted with just ungratefulness. And I'm like, you know what? I give this to y'all freely so that y'all can learn. And I did the videos where I walked through, and people would still just, so you know what? I don't know what else to do. And I keep telling the people, hey, y'all keep it up. I mean, this was free for y'all. I have the videos up still, you know, where I'm walking through it, you know, where we're talking it out. But it was just too much. It was too much. So I said, you know what? I've had it, because people were being rude and ungrateful. So I was like, you know, I'm taking it down. So, but what I was thinking of was, I want to break it down where it's more comprehensive. It's not just the outline of the syllabus, which is what I had up. This is going to be a much more intensive syllabus. And so, of course, it's going to be available for purchase, but it's not available right now because I'm still working on it. But it's all coming together. So that way, all you have to do is just look at the syllabus and then just like go down the list, get the books, and then you're able to study on your own. And it's something that's a reasonable timeline, like 9 months, 12 months, or 18 months, not something that you're going to fly through and try to pass the test, because I'm not about that. I'm not about that. And I don't have a school. People tell me, well, you need a school. I also have a full-time job, folks. I also have a full-time job and other things going on that I don't talk about here on the channel. So like I said, you know, this is the best that I can offer is this syllabus. And, you know, again, it'll be available for purchase. So I'm just letting you guys know. The videos where I'm talking about the independent study are still up. And all the books that I recommend are always in the description box. So you can put it together yourself, you know. But again, if you want the actual breakdown, the intensive breakdown, it will be ready, but not right now. It'll be a few more weeks. Probably not this month, but it'll be in a few more weeks. So just letting you guys know that that's what happened to it, you know. It's just me. Like I say, I'm the one who gets all of these messages from some of these people. Like I said, that one person was like, oh, it's your fault. How is it my fault? You're not a student of mine in any way. You don't comment on the videos. You ask me this question of, oh, do you think I can do it? I don't know you. Have you watched my videos? That's all I said was, have you watched my videos? Oh, well, no, my friend turned me on to this. Okay, then how did you get my email address? Did you not look at the videos? Did you not see the studies, the independent study syllabus I had up at the time? Did you not see that? Did you not see all the books that I recommend and how to practice and prepare yourself for the exam? Did you not see that? So, like I said, I'll just take it down then. Because I tell people it's in the description box. Where is it? Description box. Click on the little thing where it says, you know, to expand, and you'll see it all there. So now I see people are looking in the description box and they're like, oh, it's not there. No, it's not there. Took it off. So that hurt me too. I didn't want to do that. But I also wanted the emails to stop, the mean emails to stop. This is a free resource that people were just giving me a hard time for. No, that had to stop. That had to stop. So, all right. Melinda says, for some reason, I thought it was like doing 2 tasks at once. It is, But in a work situation, multitasking is like taking on, you know, more things. I mean, I don't know what they would want you to do while you're doing coding. Like, are you checking in patients? You know what I mean? Like, that would be what I was thinking. You know, like you're coding and then, oh yeah, the phone's ringing. Let me answer it. You know what I mean? So no, not within your scope. Hi, Kylie. So yes. All right, y'all got 6 minutes. Anybody else got anything else? Anything else I can misinterpret? I guess like I did with Melinda. Sorry, Melinda. That's just what I was thinking of, you know. I want y'all to succeed. I just want y'all to succeed. That's all. But y'all gotta work too. Y'all gotta put in the time. Y'all gotta practice. And that's the biggest thing, is the practicing. Because I get people, Blue, I don't understand. Okay, first of all, how much time are you putting in? During the week? Yes, during the week. How much time are you putting in? Well, honestly, I said, I'm about to hear a tall tale. How much is it? What is it? 4 hours in the week? Well, how did you know? It's always about 4 or 5 hours whenever I hear that. That's only 4 or 5 hours. You mean you only put in 20 hours, 16 hours maybe a month? You should be at 80 hours in a month. You should be at. In my regular scheduled videos, I have the study trackers. They're $5, but you could make your own. And there's little bubbles. It's kind of like a savings tracker if you ever played with that. Savings trackers, like you put this amount away every day and you end up with like $5,000 or whatever, you know. If you do that at the beginning of the year, it's usually a popular thing to do. Well, I made study trackers. So they're 80 hours. And so like all the little bubbles, they add up to the 80 hours. So there's 60-minute bubbles and there's 30-minute bubbles. And then you can fill them in as you do, you know, as you do them. And so it's a good visual tracker that you can hang up while you're studying. So that way you can monitor yourself if you've been putting in the time and not just saying, oh yeah, I'll get to it. But you can fill those bubbles in, and it's actually like a good thing because it'll keep you on track. And hitting that 80 hours a month of study is what you should be at. It should not be that you're trying to cram. Because if you give your mind time to learn, it'll learn. But you got to put in the time. That's why I say I want y'all to be successful. I don't want y'all to look for excuses or feel sorry for yourselves. I want you to do the work. All that time you're wasting feeling sorry for yourself or crying or asking people why. Well, don't worry about that right now. If you're worried about finding a job and yet you haven't taken your test yet, you're worried about the wrong thing, right? Because the present is a present. So if your time right now is supposed to be with studying, then you get with those books. If it's boring to you, you don't understand, put it down. Get something else to do. Listen to the coding guidelines. I also have that for sale too. The instructions. But because I've explained that before too, people were ungrateful. They were telling me, oh, the voice sounds so boring. Well, you know, you could change the voice. I'm not tech savvy, even I know that, you know. But that's something that you can do. Listen to the guidelines. Read the coding guidelines. The more you read, the faster you get. And you need that. You need speed when you're taking your exams because you only get so much time. With AAPC, you get 2 minutes, 40 seconds. With AHEMA, you get just over 2 minutes. Not 2 minutes, 40 seconds, definitely not, but you get just over 2 minutes per question, average. So you have to be a fast reader. And it's a lot of reading. So make the time. Look up the codes. Get the practice in. You don't understand something, come back to it later. I'm just saying. Sarah says, you rock for all the information you pass out to us. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right, Melinda. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Like I said, I got an appointment in 30 minutes. So I will see y'all back on Monday. If you have any special requests for a show, please let me know. Comment in the comments, and I'll try to see if I can get to it. So With that said, I'm going to go ahead and see y'all later. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.